Welcome back, Defenders. Well, this happened. Trump and Putin end Alaska talks with no deal on Ukraine. This meeting served no purpose. Nothing was announced, nothing was signed, nothing was agreed upon. There is no ceasefire, there is no peace deal. Putin got a free trip to Alaska, and Donald Trump got absolutely nothing from the Russians. And I think when the history books are written, this is going to be the picture. This is going to be the image that people remember from this meeting. US soldiers on their hands and knees, welcoming the dictator of Russia. Trump literally had uniformed active duty soldiers on their hands and knees, rolling out the red carpet for a genocidal dictator who has killed millions of people around the world the last 26 years. Putin has killed hundreds of thousands of Chechens, hundreds of thousands of Syrians, tens of thousands of people across Africa, sponsoring all these coups. He's killed thousands of Georgians, thousands of Moldovans, thousands of Belarusians, hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians, and hundreds of thousands of his own people, forcing them into the military and meat assaulting them across the Donbass region. This is how the Russians are reacting to this meeting. This is what they're posting on Telegram channels. This says in Russian, US Army in movies versus the US Army in real life. So in TV and movies, the United States military looks tough and strong, but in reality, they will kneel before Putin, the dictator of Russia. So let's start with the good news. And the good news is that people did show up to protest. Pro-Ukrainian protest held in Anchorage ahead of Trump-Putin summit. And Anchorage isn't very big, it's only about 300,000 people. But this was still a pretty large crowd gathering in support of Ukraine. Let me share a little bit of this video of the crowd gathered in the center of the city. I had some people comment saying they were going to attend this rally, so if this was one of you, thank you so much for showing up, buying a flag, and supporting Ukraine. I also do want to thank the journalists who were at this event. Putin was not allowed to take questions from American reporters, but that didn't stop American reporters from shouting at him questions. So I want to say thank you to the journalist who was able to get this question in, and look at Putin and Trump's reaction.
President Putin, will you stop killing civilians?
President Putin, will you stop targeting and killing civilians? And, oh, I don't speak English, I can't hear you, I don't know what you said. This was a photo op. Donald Trump doesn't actually do anything. He just likes big events with powerful people to make him look tough and strong, when he could not have looked any weaker. So here's some interesting details. There was no one-on-one meeting between Trump and Putin. It was a 3-on-3, I'll talk more about that in a second. The meeting, these are supposed to be peace talks. They were supposed to last 6 to 7 hours, but they only lasted 3.5, meaning half of that is taken up by translators. So Putin and Trump only talked for about 1.5 or 2 hours. There then was a press briefing that was cut short. There was supposed to be like a brunch, a working brunch, but that was canceled. And then Putin got back on his plane and went back to Russia. This briefing was bizarre. This is the official White House YouTube channel, and it says it's 55 minutes, but for the first 42 minutes, it's just dead air. There's no broadcast. Putin and Trump then take the podiums, and Putin speaks first. Putin took control of the briefing, and Trump just kind of stood there and allowed Putin to make his statement. Putin rambled for about 5 minutes about history and whatnot, and We need to make agreements. Trump then spoke for like 2 minutes, and then that was the end. They then got out of there. No questions taken by the journalists. The press briefing was like 10 minutes, and nothing was announced. No details were given. Here is Fox News reporter Jackie Heinrich. She was in the room, and this is how Fox News is describing this press briefing with both Putin and Trump.
Happened back there. It was just very unusual, atypical, and I think we're all awaiting, the readout, because the way that it felt in the room was not good. It did not seem like things went well, and it seemed like Putin came in and steamrolled, got right into what he wanted to say, and got his photo next to the president and then left. Of course, that is only the piece of the picture that we have right now, and certainly President Trump.
That is Fox News reporting that President Trump got steamrolled by Putin. Putin had his way, said what he wanted to say, got his photograph, then got back on his plane and just left. Here's the photograph, and Donald Trump could not look happier. He looks like a child who just got to meet Santa Claus. Trump idolizes Putin. He worships this man, and he wanted this meeting for 8 months. So Putin made it happen. Except Santa Claus is not real. So I'm going to propose the theory that this was not the real Putin. Putin sent one of his body doubles to meet with Trump in Alaska. And just let me present the evidence. I know this is conspiracy. I don't have definitive proof. But I'm going to lay out to you my arguments why I don't think this is the real Putin. And the first being, he just made a lot of weird gestures and faces. This doesn't look like the head of a state when he makes all these weird faces.
Press. Thank you, press. Thank you, press. Thank you, press. Thank you, press. Let's go. Thank you, press. Thank you, press. Thank you, press. Let's go. Come on, guys. Come on, guys. Let's go. Let's go. Thank you, press. Let's go.
Thank you, press. Thank you, press. Thank you.
So this Putin behaved a little bizarre, and the way he looks is just off to me. So let me present some evidence. This is Newsweek. Russian TV showing Putin in 2 places at once sparks body double claims. This has happened a couple times where Putin has been broadcast in 2 different Russian cities doing events, which normally is not possible if you're just one person. No question, Putin is using body double after the mutiny, according to a Russian analyst. This is kind of just accepted in Russia. People just assume in Russia that yes, Putin uses body doubles, and that's smart to protect the president, because people are trying to kill him. You don't have to listen to me. Don't listen to my opinion. Listen to the opinion of Russians. This is Igor Girkin, also known as Igor Strelkov. He is a Russian army veteran and a former FSB officer who played a key role in the Russian annexation of Crimea. He then was in the Donbass War as an organizer for militant groups in the DPR. So this man is pro-Putin, pro-Russia. He wants to kill as many Ukrainians as possible. And he says on his program that Putin uses body doubles. This clip is from 2023. Putin had Igor Strelkov arrested for speaking freely. Girkin is now in jail. But this is what he said in 2023. The real Vladimir Putin, on Christmas, was alone in the Kremlin church. Alone. The priests were probably afraid of coming close to him. There was probably a sniper who warned he will shoot them if they come closer than 20 meters. This is the real Vladimir Putin, who, when they show him receiving ministers, he sits at one side of the table and looks at them from binoculars. Where are they? This is the real one. But one who is awarding others, hugging everyone, there are several of them, and who is making speeches. When I see an alleged Putin in the crowd, I immediately know I am seeing a double, and no one knows what this double says. He probably is just talking bollocks. I'll link the clip down below in the event you speak Russian, and you want to hear it from yourself. This is an FSB officer who was the most important man involved in the Donbass war between 2014 and 2022. And he says that Putin uses body doubles. This is what Putin looks like. The real Putin is pretty severe. He's somber. You can watch the video clips of him in his bunker. This is the speech in which he announced he was invading Ukraine. And the real Putin, he kind of coughs and clears his throat a lot. He also frequently will grip the table to stop his hand from shaking. And I don't know who this guy is. This guy did not have the same body language as the real Putin. And this guy genuinely seemed excited to meet Trump and to visit America. The real Putin has been to the United States numerous times, meeting with Obama, meeting with George Bush, attending G8 summits and UN General Assemblies. But this guy, the body double, has never met Trump and has never been allowed probably to leave the country until now. This was also a giveaway when I saw the Putin double from this angle. One of the Putin versions has a very weak chin anytime he opens his mouth. So when Putin visited Mariupol, this was a photo op to say the city is doing great when the city has been destroyed. The Putin in that video was not the real Putin, because the real Putin is paranoid about being assassinated. So the real Putin has a much defined chin, I guess, whereas I think this is the body double that came to Alaska. Anytime he opens his mouth, his chin basically just vanishes. There's another Putin with a stronger jawline. In addition, their hair is also slightly different. But this is the real Putin, the guy sitting in the gold chair in the Kremlin, dictating to his servants. And this is the guy that Trump got to spend 3.5 hours with. This is the real Putin. This is the guy who showed up in Alaska. The real Putin is a germaphobe. He still, in the year 2025, makes people go through COVID-19 isolation procedures before they're allowed to get within 3 feet of him. When Putin meets with his own ministers, they sit 30 feet away. Putin comes in a separate door than the people who serve him because he doesn't allow anyone to get within knifing distance of his back. This is his central bank chief, this is his defense minister, and this is how he conducts meetings, because he's so paranoid about being assassinated. So the fake Putins, they're the ones that go on these stupid dictator public relations events. On the way to flying to Alaska, this Putin stopped in Magadan to tour a omega-3 supplement facility. And if you were the leader of a nation in which you've taken over 1 million casualties, you've lost over 10,000 tanks and 1/3 of your strategic bomber fleet, would you really spend time touring an omega-3 supplement factory? In addition, while the fake Putin was in Alaska, he drove to a local cemetery. This was during World War II. Soviet pilots lost their life while shipping stuff under the Lend-Lease Act between Alaska and the Far East. So Putin wanted to attend one of the grave sites of these Soviet pilots who were buried in Alaska. But do you really think the real Putin would risk his life to go to a cemetery in Alaska to lay flowers at the grave of a World War II pilot? He's fighting a war in which Ukrainian intelligence is trying to assassinate him. So I don't know who this guy was, but he's not the real Putin, and I kind of think Trump knows it. I kind of think Trump knows that the real Putin didn't get off the plane, and rather than be embarrassed, rather than making a big deal, Trump is just going to lie and say everything was great. Trump is saying this meeting was a 10 out of 10, could not be any more productive. So the White House confirmed that Trump's one-on-one with Putin wasn't going to happen. Instead, it was going to be a 3-on-3 with Witkoff and Rubio, and then Lavrov and one other Russian with the body double. The reason why the body double was not allowed to be alone with Trump is because Lavrov was in charge. Lavrov, this is Putin's actual trusted advisor, was the real power. He was the one actually talking to and coming to agreements with Trump. The body double was just there in the meeting talking gibberish. I'm sure he's a amicable guy who wants to engage in small talk, and he probably has a pretty good life being Putin's body double. But as far as making decisions or coming to agreements, I'm sure the body double in this meeting was deferring to Lavrov every single time, and Trump could tell. Trump could pick up on it that Putin wasn't actually saying anything that made sense, not offering any real deals, and wasn't capable of negotiating anything. And this isn't the first time that Trump has been fooled by the Russians. This clip is incredible. This clip is from 1988, and a Gorbachev impersonator came to New York City, and they were able to convince Donald Trump that this was the real Gorbachev. So Donald Trump came rushing downstairs to meet him, excited that the Soviet premier wanted to meet Donald Trump.
Cathedral of Cash, the home of hyperbole, and mansion to the master himself, Donald Trump, who made a special effort to whiz down from his penthouse office and greet our guest. Mr. Trump is coming now. He's just come down very briefly. We were on our way. He wanted a couple of minutes.
I like your tie.
Right colour. I hope we didn't disturb your schedule.
No, it was beautiful, and I heard, and I couldn't have been happier. Very good. I couldn't have been happier. Good luck with everything.
Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm very glad.
Great time. Thank you.
In the event Donald Trump is watching this video, once again, that was not the real Gorbachev. That was an impersonator. You were fooled again. So here we are. This is what Trump is saying, trying to spin this summit as a huge success. A great and very successful day in Alaska. The meeting with Putin went very well, as did the phone call with Zelensky. It was determined by all, that's a lie, that the best way to end this horrific war between Russia and Ukraine is to go directly to a peace agreement, which would end the war, and not a mere ceasefire agreement, which oftentimes do not hold up. So Trump is giving up. All of this talk about we need to end the killings, we need a ceasefire now. He's no longer going to demand a ceasefire from the Russians because the Russians told him no. Trump then threatened, I'm going to sanction you, I'm going to put tariffs on you if you don't agree to a ceasefire. But the Russians said no. And every time, Trump chickens out. 2-week taco Trump, chickening out once again. So here is what Trump is saying. He was interviewed by Sean Hannity. Sean Hannity said, is there a need for tariffs or sanctions on Russia? Trump responded, because of what happened today, I think I don't have to think about it. I may have to think about it in 2 weeks or 3 weeks or something, but we don't have to think about that right now. I think the meeting went very well. 8 months. We've been doing this for 8 months. Trump sets a deadline for Russia to stop the killings. We want peace. The deadline expires. Putin suggests some meaningless negotiation to stall for time. The negotiations don't go anywhere because the Russians don't want to negotiate. And then we just start over again. 2 more weeks. Taco Trump. He's never going to do anything. He loves Vladimir Putin. He loves the Russians. So what did they talk about for almost 3 hours? Russian decree opens door for Exxon to return to the Sakhalin-1 project. Russian President Putin on Friday signed a decree that could allow foreign investors, including top U.S. oil major ExxonMobil, to regain their shares in the Sakhalin-1 oil and gas project. This is what they talked about. ExxonMobil is going to return to doing business with the Russians to help get their oil and gas out of the ground. Putin had to sign a decree. This isn't Trump lifting sanctions on ExxonMobil. This is Russia lifting sanctions on ExxonMobil so America can return to Russia's energy markets. Yep. Oh, so maybe one thing that came out of this meeting is there will be another summit in like a month between Trump and Putin. And this time, Trump actually will go to Moscow.
Again, Mr. President, I'd like to thank you very much. And we'll speak to you very soon and probably see you again very soon. Thank you very much, Vladimir.
Next time in Moscow.
Oh, that's an interesting one. I don't know. I'll get a little heat on that one, but I could see it possibly happening.
So if Trump actually goes to Moscow, then he'll get to meet with the real Putin. The real Putin will actually meet Trump if Trump goes to Moscow. But as far as Anchorage, Alaska, no, I don't think the richest man in the world is going to humiliate himself and risk his life going to Anchorage, Alaska. 2/3 of Americans think the United States should defend Ukraine, poll finds. U.S. support for aid to Ukraine has increased over the last 6 months, according to Pew Research data. But most respondents have little faith in Trump's role as a deal maker in chief, especially with Putin. Here's the polling data of favorability versus unfavorability of Vladimir Putin. 93% of Democrats have an unfavorable opinion of Putin, 88% of independents, and 84% of Republicans. 84% of MAGA, Trump's supporters, have an unfavorable view of Putin. And Trump can't help himself. He just keeps jamming positive messaging, positive images down the throats of his own supporters saying, we like Putin. We want to do business with Putin. Putin is pursuing peace. He's such a great guy. I might need to pause the video to vomit, guys. America has fallen. American democracy doesn't exist anymore because Trump doesn't believe in democracy. He could not be any more ecstatic when he gets to meet a dictator who has killed a lot of people. These are his idols. And anytime he meets a democratically elected leader, the Prime Minister of Canada, the President of Mexico, whoever, he hates these people. All he does is want to humiliate them. But let's focus on Ukraine. What is Ukraine's reaction to this summit? Here is Ilya Ponomarenko. Okay, here's what will be Trump's next genius move. Yelling at Ukraine on Truth Social and demanding that Ukraine have yet another pointless round of talks with the Russians in Istanbul to prove that Ukraine wants peace. With the Russians, they don't have to do anything, agree to anything. Trump knows they want peace. But with Ukraine, they have to do everything Trump says. They have to agree to everything to prove that Ukraine wants peace. Here's Kate from Kharkiv. It was always going to end in either nothing or more pressure on the victim. Always. But there's no real reason for Russia or Putin to stop the war. There isn't enough pressure. The Russian economy needs to be crashed, and Ukraine needs to be far better armed. Only then will Putin come to the table for a real conversation. Why would Putin stop this war? Putin thinks he's winning. Donald Trump is basically on his side. Donald Trump could not be any more enthusiastic about talking to Putin and spending time with Putin. He loves Putin. So what does Zelensky think and feel? And I think Zelensky is over it. I think Zelensky knows Trump is crazy and useless, and as long as the United States is still willing to sell weapons to Ukraine, Zelensky views that as a win. All of these games, these delay tactics that Trump is doing on purpose, Zelensky doesn't care. As long as the United States continues selling weapons to European partners, that benefits Ukraine. Zelensky said, "We had a long and substantive conversation with President Trump. We started with one-on-one talks before inviting European leaders to join us. This call lasted for more than an hour and a half, including about an hour of our bilateral conversation. Zelensky did announce he's going to the White House on Monday, so we'll see how that goes. For everyone losing their shit about this spectacle, this is going to keep happening until Europe arms up properly. Until then, an entire continent and millions of Ukrainians are at the mercy of these imbeciles and dotards. These two men are idiots and pretty damn evil, and they're in charge of about 10,000 nuclear weapons. America is going to be worthless the next 3.5 years. To my friends in Europe, nobody is coming to save you. You have to save yourselves. Send your militaries to Ukraine. They don't have to be frontline soldiers. They can be in the rear. Your maintainers, your medical staff, your cyber experts, your logisticians. Send everything you have today. Because we don't know what these two are going to be doing together a year from now. 2 years from now, if this war is still going on. So here's the battlefield update. This is important. Ukraine crashes Russian horns of war near Pokrovsk, eliminating 271 occupiers over a few days. Smoke and dust rise over Donetsk horizon as Ukrainian brigades hold the line, crushing Russian attempts to seize Dobra Pilia and blunting their push towards Pokrovsk. This is the salient 18 kilometers that everyone was freaking out about, and it's been smashed. It's been cut in half. There's a couple hundred Russian soldiers who are basically trapped in between Ukrainian forces, and the Ukrainians were able to clear them out of this defense structure. There's a newly constructed defense line. The Russians got into the trenches, but they've now been expelled. The Azov Brigade has captured dozens of people and killed hundreds. This salient is not a breakthrough. It's not leading to the fall of anything. And even if the Russians do take Pokrovsk, the Russians take Konstantinivka, the war doesn't end. We just have to wait 2 or 3 years and eventually they'll get to the next mid-sized town. This is stupid. According to the Ukrainian First Corps of Azov, the situation east of Dobrabila has been stabilized, and the Russians have been pushed out of 6 villages. They also reported that the combined Russian losses in the area are 385 men, 37 vehicles. It's not easy. Ukraine is doing the best they can under the circumstances, but they need more help. They need more help today. In the meantime, Ukraine is applying their own sanctions to Russia, kinetic sanctions. Russia says they downed 13 drones, but the Syzran refinery burns, and videos show fire raging at a military-linked fuel plant. So the Russians always say they successfully shot down the drones, but somehow the debris falls on the refineries and the refineries catch fire. No. Ukraine is successfully striking these refineries. And this is unusual. I never see the close-up pictures, but the Russians released the damage to the distillation towers, and this is pretty bad. This is going to take months if they have the parts and the technicians to fix, but Ukraine has taken out basically 7 refineries in the last 2 weeks. How do you have spare parts or the technicians to repair them all at the same time? More than likely, they can only repair 1 or 2 at a time, and this is going to take years. Ukraine's long-range strikes cost Russia over 4% of their GDP in 2025. This is according to Kyiv. The announcement, the military's Strategic Communications Department estimates the attacks on the refineries this year has cost the Russian economy $74 billion. This is the winning strategy. Don't stop Ukraine. Keep going. Keep going. Ukraine blows up Russian port Olia ship loaded with Iranian drone parts. This is on Astrakhan. This is the Caspian Sea. Iran is still delivering weapon supplies to the Russians. Ukraine got the intelligence and they sank one of these ships in the harbor. This is Ukraine, applying sanctions on Russian shipping. Explosion at Russian gunpowder plant leaves 5 dead and more than 100 injured. I don't know if Ukraine had anything to do with this. This is a gunpowder factory that exploded, and you can imagine when a gunpowder factory explodes, it's pretty devastating. So there's videos. I'll link these videos down below, but this is somebody filming on site, and can you tell there was a factory there at one point? The Russians are saying at least 5 killed, but they're finding body parts everywhere, and that estimate is going to go up. So this was incredibly devastating, and once again, we don't know if this was an accident or if Ukraine sabotaged the factory. Volgograd region judge found dead near courthouse in suspected murder. Not a suspected murder, it was a murder, it was caught on camera. This is a hero of Russia, one of the SMO participants returning home, and he found out this Russian judge was sleeping with his wife, so he murdered him in public. He shot him, beat him, and plunged a knife into his skull. And it was all caught on camera. I'll link the video down below, but this is what the mentality and brutality of the average Russian soldier in the occupied territories is like. And when they all return home, hundreds of thousands of these men suffering from PTSD, yeah, I think they're gonna shove some knives in some skulls when they find out somebody's been sleeping with their wife. This is just dark, guys. Video down below. Russia's state shipbuilding giant to slash 70% of their workforce at a key Far East shipyard. Because who's buying Russian ships at this point? Your shipyards are weak, Russia. They're weak. Final video I want to share with you is a Ukrainian POW returning home this week. This is Vladislav meeting his wife Violetta and their son David. He's been in Russian captivity since April of 2022, and he finally gets to see his wife and son.
Ми з тобою не бачилися. За хлібом 3,5 года ходив. Все, ставлю. Якщо буде. Ваш? Я не знаю. А ну, глянь. Ні? Ні? Ти живеш? Сыну. Вам виростили сором'язливого сина, поки ви за хлібом ходили. Нормально. Синок.
Дарик, пошли, иди, обними папу, да. Иди ко мне, иди сюда. Сколько малому?
This is what this war is about. This is why Ukrainians continue to fight. They're just protecting their families. They're protecting their homes. They're protecting their land. That's all for this update video. Glory to Ukraine. Glory to the heroes. If you found this video informative, give me a thumbs up. Best way to support the channel. Comments and questions, let me know down below. I love hearing from you guys. Till the next video, keep defending the truth. Keep defending democracy.